Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Welcome back. And today's video is me showing you how to use the current brush set that I created for Manga Studio. I actually originally created these in Photoshop and then had the request to bring them over, so I've done so. And I just want to run through these with you and show you how I use them. So I'll start off with the ink hairbrush here. And this has got some auto correction on it. It gives you a very tapered point, and it also gives you some strands in the hair so that you can quickly define some hair texture while you're doing the shapes. So what I'll generally do is paint through it with a pretty big brush and just pressing lightly, and I'll kind of, I'll have a pre-sketched design obviously, but then I'll use this to fill in the black areas, leaving some areas white. And I'll just start off with a larger brush, work down to a smaller brush. I'll switch back and forth from dark to light, maybe scale the brush down, and then I can refine the light source in the hair and get some of those loose little strands. And I'll generally do the loose little strands with a more solid brush like the detailing brush over here. So, just do whatever feels right, but that's generally how I do it. And like I said, I'll go back and forth and just do, just try to get that hair feel, but it makes it just a little bit quicker of a process for you. So there's that one. Keep in mind these brushes, you can adjust them all in the settings here. You get to this box by clicking the gear icon here. So feel free to play around with them, save alternate versions. Don't redistribute the brushes, but you can use these for whatever commercial project you have. That's the purpose of me sharing it with you. So the detailing brush is the very next one, and you can just get in there and do some of the, again, like I said, the little loose strands or whatever. And this is kind of like the G pen. It's just modified a little bit. I like the G pen a lot. What I generally look for when I'm modifying any of the brushes that I do, add a new layer each time I do this, is I'm looking for the way that the brush either starts or finishes based on the way that I have to press. So with that, you can get a nice variety of lines. Um, Generally you want as much out of a single brush as you can so that you don't have to switch too often. But and for that, the G pen is phenomenal. But there's just a couple little settings that I like to change in brushes that I create, and this is a good one throughout for digital inking and detail work. So that's the detail brush, good for a little cross hatching and doodling and stuff like that. Uh, the main purpose of this particular set was the cross hatching, and I'll show you what I tried to do there. And it's not perfect, but what I basically was trying to envision and trying to complete with this is to give you a quick and easy way to do a variety of cross hatching effects. Some more effects than actual cross hatching, but what it does, it just allows you to get these effects in and add to your work and hopefully come up with some creative texturing and cross hatching effects. So the way this works is that some of these are off the tilt of the pen, so keep in mind that you might have to have, or you do have to have, a tablet that supports pressure sensitivity and tilt. The pressure sensitivity is the part where it goes smaller to larger like that, just based on how hard I press. And then the tilt is going to be, or the direction of the pen pull is going to be the way that the brush reacts to whichever way you're pulling. So some of these work that way and others don't, but you just have to play with it and see what effect you get. Like I like that effect right there. So if I can use that in the work, then that's what I do. And then you combine that with your ability to distort it, like Command Shift T, and you could pull this around in your design, warp or distort it into place. So you got to figure out how these would implement into the work that you're doing. Crosshatch A and B. There's that the one I was just on. Detailing brush, crosshatch B. Okay, so here's another one where they're kind of combined already. Um, yeah, so this one to me is more usable than even the first one. It's a little more traditional looking, and the lines are still a little heavy in this one, but this is based on the size relation and how you're using it in your work. Again, by pressing harder, you're going to get the larger cross hatching effect. So yeah, you just have to play around with it and see, where you can use it in your work like that. Oh, let me create another layer here. So, and they're just quick, fun, and easy to use. You know, it just takes a little getting the hang of as far as what you get based on the way that you tilt the pen and the way that you know pull the design. Okay, so then I did one where you got crosshatch lean left and lean right. And the reasoning for this one is to give you the ability to kind of design your own a little bit. So as you're doing this, you can grab the lean left and the lean right, scale the brush down, or just vary up the pressure sensitivity, and you can kind of combine these two. So I'll show you what I mean there. Scale the brush down a little bit more, like that. Scale it down even further and go like that. And I'll zoom up to show you. So yeah, it allows you to create a quick cross-hatching effect and then have a little bit more control since the brushes are individual. Move that down to here. Horizontal fade brush. This one's nice for backgrounds. It's a little slow, but the way that I generally use this anyways is I'll click once, hold shift, go across, and click again. It can be used in an arch like this. Just going to kind of stutter a little bit, but then I'd probably go over it one more time like that. So that's more of, again, just a background effect, but I think that one's helpful. And the way that I came up with these, I just kind of thought about some of the stuff that I use in my work and then how I might be able to speed that up. I mean, that's really the key component of brushes anyways. So this is an effect that I've always done, you know, in kind of like a dark alley effect. Like you'd picture this around a light in a dark alley. You'd do that kind of shading maybe. Alright, so, but yeah, it's all just comes down to real preference. Add another layer. Let's do creepy horizon down. Okay, yeah, so this one is just a series of lines going downward. Again, you could probably use that in succession a couple times, depending on the level and intensity of the effect that you want. You could also, again, hold shift to direct it like that. I think it gives it a little bit more of a smooth application of that. And something like this I generally would be off the top of the page, or you could just come back with one of your selections and, you know, delete the top or whatever. So again, that's another time saver for a background effect. Okay, add another layer. See what else we got here. Creepy horizon up and down. Forgive the names, I just basically have to come up with something to discern them from one another. So yeah, same thing. This is kind of this effect, but with an up and down, just to save you some time in case you wanted a different effect. Most of these brushes are going to rotate with the pen stroke like that. And I'm going to go ahead and close that for now. That was more for editing purposes. Just want to show you how you'd get in there and change these around if you want. So this one's more for, again, just an eerie background setting, you know, something like that. But again, play around with it. There's just a variety of things that you can get from just being creative with these. Straight up lines. This one is more like a stamp, and some of these are more functional that way. But what this one is just basically like if you were to press and, if I can get one to draw here. All right. You got to kind of press and hold or move across the screen based on the size of the brush too. So I'm going to scale it down. Yeah, so it's a little easier there. So you can get this kind of effect with just looks like some hair picks or something, but or a comb. But what you can do is just basically draw one, hit Command T. Oh, make sure it's on another layer would help. Just do one real quick one. Command T. And this one's just basically like if I wanted to move one over, hold Alt, and create my own type of, again, crosshatch or pattern like that. And I should have the screen a little bit better because these come out really high res. They're all built pretty large scale. So let's up the screen size. Let's do like 3500 pixels, and that way the brushes won't look so. You know, this one's going to be blurred because I already drew it smaller. But that's essentially what this style one is for, so that you can manipulate it like that and create different patterns really quickly. So Command E to merge those together. Move that over. Add a new one. Okay, and what else? Spike brush. This is one of my favorites for just kind of an effect that I've always used when shading like clothing or I don't know, just a lot of different things. You can use it on one side of like metal shading or whatever. It's just a good brush to have. So essentially what it's for is like, say you were doing a shoulder and you wanted to shade that shoulder um, from the dark to the light. You would just basically fill this side in over here dark, you know, with a different brush or whatever, and then just throw those little spikes at the end. So this one I think is a really good brush to have. I can, you know, see myself using this a lot in my work, so I want to share that one. So that's the spike brush, and again, it works off pressure sensitivity and direction. All right, so background hatch. This is another one that I've used a lot in my work over the years. So let's move this some of this stuff around here. Give myself some more real estate. This one can actually go to the bottom. Probably should have named these as I went, but we'll get there. Just enjoy your coffee or potato chips or whatever you got handy. And then I lost my layer. It's probably right here. Okay, so background hatch. This one is just a real big time saver because I use this a lot in comics, again, for a filler. The way I think it works best, the edges are soft, so you just have to get just the right overlap. It's not really based off pressure sensitivity, but one good way to probably use this brush is just take a blank canvas, fill as much of it in as you can, and once you get it right, save it. And that works with a lot of textures. You know, if you get a certain thing right and you're working digitally, save it. You know, save it, name it properly, and then you got it, and it's, again, a time saver. So that's another one that I like for filler. I like for a little bit of variance in the design. I use it a lot for background, so I thought it would make for a good brush. And let's see, that's background hatch. Okay, now this is one of my favorite brushes. This came out really, really good, and I do a lot of, you know, if you follow my work, you probably know my character is Blackstone. He's an extraterrestrial, tough guy, and so I'm going to end up doing a lot of this type of stuff. I do it a lot in my work, where you know, it's like commonly referred to as Kirby Crackle. I just call it Crackle A and B, and what you basically do here is just spray it down. It's got a nice variance. It's not really pressure sensitivity, but it's got enough randomization where it works that way. Then you hit X, you know, get some of the white splats in there as well. You know, kind of just play back and forth with the dark and light when you do this brush. I think it works out really well. Vary up the size with the size of the brush. Then go to Crackle B and make sure I'm black or white. I guess it doesn't matter. But then just throw in some of these little shadings like that. So that's a really quick and effective brush. And like I said, when you're doing space scenes, that's going to come in really handy. It's going to save some serious carpal tunnel. So you're welcome. Anyways, I think people really enjoy that one. I know I will. All right, effect brush. What's this one? Oh, so, you know, with these sets, I try to incorporate just a variety of stuff. So this is just an effect brush. You see it's got a little bit of a kind of post correction there and fade, just so everything's not so much the same, you know. So what I would probably use this one for is like a series of, you know, effect lines or something like that, you know, like that dun 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 type scene or whatever. Forgive the sound effects, but you know, I don't know how else to convey it. But so yeah, so you just something like that where it's like, you know, the eerie lines or whatever. So I like having brushes like that on hand as well. So that's an effect brush. And let's see, smooth brush. Just another kind of, not so much the G pen, but just another kind of brush like the G pen, but just a little bit of a different edging. and the way that it rotates. So if you notice, as it comes around and about, see that little bump in there? It just gives you a little bit different kind of effect for your brush work. So, again, you don't have to get in the habit of using this for an entire piece, but you can try that. You just have to see where they blend into your style. But again, I like having a variety of brushes that will do different things if I feel I need it. So, micron pen, it's got a little bit of a point, but not much, just like a traditional micron, where it's more of a straight line brush. So when you're not trying to get as much of a taper, it's good to have these brushes as well. And the other good thing, which really this doesn't apply so much to Manga Studio because it does this with all brushes, but so you've got this less tapered line for your micron, but traditionally what I would always use microns for in my work was this right here, just technical lines, and I would scale the brush up and down, and I would do whatever technical line drawing I had to do. So, but again, like I said, Manga Studio pretty much thought that through, and will do that with any brush, so you don't have to worry about lines tapering as you're trying to do that hold, shift, and click kind of effect. But so that's the micron. And what else here? Smooth inker. Add a new layer? No. Yeah, so this is a nice one as well. Again, it's similar to the G Pen, a little bit more of a calligraphy bend to it. So I like this one as well for doing some nice smooth lines and some ink work there. So that's a fun one. And again, running out of space. Let's see what I got here. Bullet holes, gotta have bullet holes. If you're doing comics, there's going to be a time when you need bullet holes. And I got this set up where if you pull it across, you're just going to get a variety of sizes. I think there's a little bit of pressure sensitivity to this. Let me see if I just barely glance across the screen. Yeah, but I got it real light. So basically, if you pull across the screen slowly, you're just going to get these spaced out bullet holes. But then if you press a little bit harder, you're going to get a larger bullet hole. So I just thought that would make sense so that, it always looks more interesting if there's a few different sizes. Although I don't know that they would really be different size bullet holes unless they were coming from different caliber weapons. But we're not going to get that far into it. Just, there you go. There's some bullet holes for you. And let's see. Fire brush. This I still will probably work on in the future. Keep in mind, I want to take this time to let you guys know that when you support these brushes, you're also going to get updates. So if I create a new update to this set, I'm not going to charge you. I'm just going to update it, and I'm going to change it through my download, and you're going to get free updates to the brushes. So just keep that in mind. So if I make a particular brush, especially in this set, better, I'll even include free ones just because that'll add to the set. But if I make a particular brush that's already in the set better, then I'm going to add that in free of charge. So let's keep that in mind. One of the reasons being is like this particular brush, I like it, but it could be a bit better. But I'll show you what it does here. And it's more just to kind of get you started. So you got these, flames. They're just kind of stamped out flames. Hit X and do dark to light. I always do flames in layers like this. And then you also want to size the brush up and down and get some variety because it just looks a little too repetitive for my taste. I'm not saying it's a horrible brush, I don't want to down my own work here, but it could be a little bit better. So I would recommend using it as a starting point and then building upon what you're doing. All right. So here, let me pause this and make some more real estate, and I'll come right back. All right, I'm back. I'm sitting there trying to name them, move them all around. I'm like, this is taking forever. Let's just do this. So edit. Change canvas size. Neat thing about Manga Studio, you can simply just pull the screen out. Yeah, that's probably a little quicker. Let's just do that. Okay, so let's zoom back in. Keep in mind too, you can scroll on your mouse. I use a magic mouse, but if it's got a scroll wheel, it zooms right in. Yeah, this program's pretty kick butt. Okay, so where were we at now? Let's go back to the pen. And just showed you the fire brush. Rolling smoke. Okay, let's add a new layer for that. Just give it an abbreviation. Rolling smoke. RS. Okay, so now the way this one works is it rotates around. Okay, like that. So based on whichever way you pull, that's the way you're going to get the billowing effect of the smoke. And again, this one is something that hopefully I'll be able to improve upon later on, but it's a good starting point. So it's got a bit of pressure sensitivity. You can't go the other way like I just did right there. I tried going back. If you do that, you're gonna get the billows or whatever you want to call them, puffs of smoke in the other direction. So we'll say that we have to go clockwise this whole time. And based on the pressure that I put down, that's going to give me my variety of size of clouds or whatever. So then you got to just play around with it, give it some direction. Maybe you got some large ones up here. Generally what I do with this kind of brush is, say I get it up to this part, I'll take something like the detailing brush or one of the smooth brushes or whatever, and then I'll just draw in some of the other, because the top part of the billows should always be like really light, almost less visible, where the light's hitting. So, and again, you'd work over a sketch to get it more refined. I'm just kind of throwing this in here. And then you get in here and work in some more of your shadows, and then draw in some of your light source. So this, again, is just a starting point to help you save time and kind of get the effect in place and then refine it. So you'll get better at using this brush and then figuring out what style this brush works well within what you're doing. The other thing is that if you use the brush, let me go back here, and if you use the brush in the other direction, it kind of yields a neat result because, where is it? Balls, fire brush, rolling smoke. It gives you that kind of like looking down a tunnel. So if you go counterclockwise, you can get this neat effect like you're looking down into this big, cloud of smoke or whatever. So just keep that in mind, that you can use it in both ways to create, or both directions to create two different effects. So there's that one. And let's see, Easy Bricks. This one's great, great time saver. If you're like me and you don't really like to draw every brick and deal with all that, this one's great. Now keep in mind, you don't really want to use this like a brush like this. See what you get there? It's just not, it's less than perfect, obviously. But what you do is you hold shift and go across, and you can see there's still a little staggered right there. So the best way to use this brush, in my opinion, is draw out a ruler. You can just draw those on and see it's purple, so it locks to the guide, and then you just go across this guide. As long as you have the brush pretty much centered over the line, it'll stick to that guide. If you're off that line, it's not gonna do that. But if you go right across that line, and then you get nice perfect brushes. Now the beauty of that is that you can basically just either copy it, so hold Alt, drag it up. You can probably take the ruler off first, but I'll just do it like this for now. And then just hit Command E and repeat that process. Let me see where I'm at here. And just right click here, take off Show Ruler. Scroll back a little bit, Command T. So it takes a little bit of setup, but not much. I mean, just really quickly, you'll have a brick wall in place. Hold Alt again, drag. I usually zoom up to make sure I don't get this overly thick bar right there. And Command E. And so you see really quickly you can get a brick wall. And then just remember, if you want dimension, because you don't always just want flat brick walls, obviously, just hit Command, Transform, Free Transform. And you can distort this into place based off, hopefully you got some kind of perspective drawing in place, and you just bend that in place and then start doing your detail work. Grab like your detailing brush or whatever and start adding in your shading and texture and all that fun stuff. So Easy Bricks, that's a pretty good time saver. Alright, so what else we got here? Grunge brush. So these brushes are just great to have when you're trying to get some eerie effects in your work. Again, I just try to think in terms of, you just don't want all the same kinds of effects all throughout your panels, your pages. It's going to get real boring real quick. So brushes like this are great just to grunge things up, throw them in the background. I think, like I even mentioned in my other video as I was demonstrating these, something like this would also work kind of good against a brick wall, or you could take it and shade downward with it against a panel. It also works pretty well for, let me get back here, for just panel borders. So if you want to do like this kind of creepy panel border, and you start off like that, and you can just vary up the size of it. So like maybe a couple splatters at the corners. Vary up the size of the brush, kind of dab it in areas, just to get some, some randomizing effects to it. So yeah. Something like that. I don't know. Just play around with it. It's a good brush to have for backgrounds and things. Move that over there. Got a new one, and coming to the end here, we got abstract. Oh, okay. So this one basically, I just thought was a really neat brush. I don't know exactly what you'd use this for, but it's just kind of a neat pattern. So again, you could probably try to use it in different ways for borders if you wanted. You could, just draw this crazy looking background with it. This is more just a cool texture than anything else. So, and a lot of times you can lead up to stuff with this. So you say you're trying to do some segmented alien ship. You could do this as a spine or a series of spines on the ship itself. And then, like you wouldn't do the whole ship with this. You'd just do like, say, I don't know, say it had like these crazy looking spine things across, but you would use this to lead up to the rest of the drawing. So it's kind of hard to explain without drawing you a ship or something, but that's kind of how you have to work through digital painting a lot of times. You could even use this brush for digital painting. It would actually be pretty satisfying for that as well. So yeah, so this is a cool looking crazy brush. And what else? Texture, again, abstract texture. So yeah, this one again is more like a grunge type texture. It's got a lot of randomizing effect to it, just for that reason. It's not something that you would try to draw something with. You just basically would just dab it and move it around and get some grunge texture for your backgrounds. So again, that. So what else? Also in this set, you get bonus brushes. There's my favorite Crow Quill brush. Again, this is kind of like a modified version of the G Pen, but one of the things that it does, it gives a nice edge before you get started with your line work. So let me show you what I mean there. So if you're doing your cross hatching, I'll generally use this one as like quick pulls, like this. Size the brush down, maybe some quick pulls the other way. And it just has, instead of both edges being tapered, it's got a nice, to me, like almost a crow quill, how it starts off with a flat edge. And so that's actually one of my favorite inking brushes right there. So I figured I'd throw that into the set for free to say thanks for the support. And hairbrush, no, that's already in there. Bonus pencil brush. So this is just a good pencil brush, you can never have enough of these. It's got enough texture in it where it resembles more of a pencil. I use this more as a sketch. A lot of times I'll even sketch really light with this pencil, keep creating layers over top so it naturally darkens, and then I'll just go right to one of my detailing or Crow Quill brush or whatever. So that's just another pencil brush for you. And there's another bonus brush in here as well. It's a spatter brush. And I'm not sure where that's at. Right here, stipple brush. Okay, so this is more great for like digital painting as well, But there are times when, you just want to stipple shade something even in your comics. It's a little bit light to be considered an inking brush, but you could just keep overlaying it till it got real dark. Obviously, printing is a lot more versatile than it was back in the day for comics, so you really can create gray tone effects like this as well, and it's not really going to cause a problem. But again, it's just a bonus brush, and you can use it for whatever you need. So that's it in a nutshell, everybody. That's the brushes, and hopefully you see some effects in here that would be useful for your own work. If you do, be sure to like and share the video and check them out. There'll be a link in the description below for you to get the brushes here. And I thank you for the support, and also keep in mind to let me know what you'd like to see in the future, because I always make sure to get that on my list, and that's what I'll do. So thanks very much for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. Keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.